Sri Jata Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitang Tang Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangstya Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So this most auspicious occasion, Sri Govardhan Puja, the pastimes of Krishna as expressed in Srimad Bhagavatam is not a random collection of pastimes. They're like, oh, here's one, here's another one, and it appears like that from one point of view, but actually it's systematic, and it's gradually taking us toward a particular conclusion, which Srila Guru Maharaj nicely, perfectly, beautifully expressed in his introductory verses to what would have been his sloka collection. Yadamya Mahima Sri Bhagavatyam Kathayam Pratipatam Anubhutam Apya Labdavideya Tadakila Murti Shamalila Avalambam Madhura Rasadi Sri Radha Padmam Prapade Sri Radha Pada Padmam Prapade. Saying, although ostensibly her name is not mentioned in the Bhagavatam, it says, Anaya Radito Nunam, Aradita, the one who worships Krishna the best by giving herself fully. He said, Pratipadam Anubhuta, every step of the way is meant to take us in the direction of the service of her holy lotus feet. So we should always remember that. And what service is found at the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, Madhura Rasa, announced in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Nigama Kalpatro Galitam Palam, Shukamukharam Rita Drava Samyatam, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, Muhuraho Rasika Bhubi Bhavuka. That the tree of Veda, the Veda Kalpataru, the floral essence is Vedanta. The flower gives way to the fruit, so what is that nectarine juice in the fruit? It's Madhura Rasa. Rasa, we know, also means juice, right? So it's telling you in the very beginning, that's the subject matter of this book. And so this is going to take us there, and as we heard on the parikrama, we began in Govardhan and sort of end there as well. And how important it is in our line, our Guru Varga, that, because we always think, well, if Radha Kund we're told is the highest place, why is our Guru Varga saying we aspire to reside in Govardhan, Nija Nikata Nivasa Dehi Govardhanatvam, according to Das Goswami? So wouldn't we want to be in the other one? He said, no, that is the worshipable plane of our superior gurus. We aspire to live in Govardhan early in the morning, very early. Go to Kusum Sarovara. This means in the Gopi Deho, Gopi Bhav forms. Go to Kusum Sarovara, collect Chinmoy flowers there, and proceed to Radha Kunda, serve the superior gurus, and then return to Govardhan. Right? When they were building a residence for Saraswati Thakur and perhaps Mayapur, and so you have the ground floor, and in India, first floor above. And so Saraswati Thakur said he would be on the ground floor. And the devotees were perplexed. He said, who will be above? Like, who can walk up there above you? So then no one will be able to stay there. So what's the floor above for? He said, oh, that is for our Guru Varga. Jai Srila Bhakti Bimal Avadhut Maharaj Ki Jai. Our Guru Varga will stay above. So Govardhan has this specific significance, and when Srila Prabhupada and Srila Guru Maharaj are recounting when they first met each other, and it was on Brajamandal Parikrama, and they were told at Koshi, and it was announced to the party that the sannyasis will take the parikramis to see Sheshai Vishnu, but others may remain behind. Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur will be giving a class. So both Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj stayed. And Swami Maharaj said, the Guru Maharaj, he said, I'm thinking about Sheshai. What will I see if I go? And Guru Maharaj laughed and said, I exercise. And they both started laughing. So when Swami Maharaj Prabhupada stayed, Saraswati Thakur made a note of that. And he said, oh, he does not go away. He stays, like he's serious to hear. So Prabhupada would mention that many years later, that his Guru Maharaj noted that about him. But so he remembers that. But Guru Maharaj, not only does he remember staying, but he remembers the lecture that Saraswati Thakur gave that evening, and he also remembers the subject matter or the theme. And it was about Govardhan. And he was saying, and Guru Maharaj said, and he gave something we'd never heard before, Govardhana, because normally means what nourishes the cows, the place for the cows to get their nourishment. He said, Saraswati Thakur expressed it in this way. He said, we're employing the principle of Govardhan in promoting Krishna consciousness everywhere. He said, just as the cowmen, when they want to make more cows, there's no consideration of Brahmin cow, Kshatriya cow, Vaishya cow, Shudra cow, but they have the potent bull and they're increasing the number of cows. He said, so we will employ this principle. We're not considering the social position of anyone, whether inside Varnashram Dharma or outside that. And so we see in these pastimes of Krishna, they're, in one sense, they're giving hints, they're telegraphing what is about to come. So if we see just before this, right, the pastime that concludes before this is the wives of the Yagya Brahmans. And we'll see how there's a connection here. And what do we know about that? These Brahmins were doing their yagya somewhere in a particular part of Vrindavan, and Krishna and the cowherd boys were very hungry, and Krishna told them, oh, there's some Brahmins nearby doing a yagya. Go ask them for something for, Krishna and Balaram. And he's thinking, oh, don't mention my name because I'm a Vaishya. Think about it. But Balaram, he could be described as a Kshatriya. So mention Balaram's name. They might be more inclined instead of, someone lowly like me. Right? The cowherd boys go there and say, oh, dear Brahmins, Krishna and Balaram are nearby, want some food. They're very hungry. And the Brahmins, what do you say? We're doing our yagya. We have so many more mantras to chant. It's not the proper time yet. In time, after the mantras, the pouring of the ghee, and different ritualistic performances we have in certain mudras that we're expert at doing, at that time the prasadam will be distributed. So the cowherd boys come back empty-handed, and then Krishna, he's just smiling. They're a little and anxiety. And he said, go ask their wives. I go, okay. And when they ask the wives, they're besides themselves. Everything they're cooking, pull it off the stove, put it in pots. They put on some makeup. Sometimes they're told they put their clothes on backwards. They're just so eager to run and offer everything they have to Krishna, right? And so he's showing something here. And each one of these, he wants to show something. So he shows those Yagya Brahmans doing everything by the book, so-called, they don't have the right heart. They're heartless in this sense. They got an opportunity for direct, couldn't rise to the occasion. Their wives who don't know all of those mantras, don't know all the rituals, but their hearts are in the right place. Their heart flow is going toward Krishna. And when they get there, we're told Krishna's leaning with one arm on another cowherd boy, like Balaram, and smiling, and he's twirling a lotus flower. It says, Shaman hiranyaparidam vanamaya barha datu prabala naraveshan anavratankshe vinyastamastamitarena dunana mabjam karnot pukala utpal kopola mukhabjahasam, with a big smile on his face. And so there's this huge lotus flower, and Krishna's twirling it like this. So he's got one arm on his friend, and he's twirling the lotus flower. And when the ladies look at the lotus flower, their hearts synchronize with the twirling of the lotus flower and start spinning, and they're imbued with Madhura Rasa sentiments, and they're like, they're all starting to faint, right? That's one way. Simultaneously, we're told, Krishna's telling him, your devotion is so sweet and beautiful, my heart is twirling in response to you. So a mutual thing. So just think, so that concludes, right? But then this pastime begins. So we already set the stage about getting ready for a sacrifice and being too much attached to the rule. That was covered there. Now Krishna notices, we're told by Vishwanath Chakrabarti and others that after the wives of the Brahmins displayed this sort of devotion, Krishna said, I like it here. Like he told Nanda Maharaj, let's go move camp over here. Happens to be Govardhan. Right? So they're there, and Krishna sees now, not the Brahmins, but his father and all the cowherd men. They're assembling all these ingredients for the annual Indra Puja, Indra Yagya festival. You know. And remember, Krishna's like around 7, but really 1.5 times Padma Purana. Really is like a teenager, but still a child. And he starts inquiring from them, what is this all about? He's saying, is this something that it's just a tradition and nobody really knows why we do it? Or is there some scriptural references, or, you know? And we're told some of the cowherd men are saying, like, why do we have to explain this to a boy? You know, let's just keep doing what we're doing. And then Krishna says, but really advanced spiritual people, they don't distinguish higher and lower. They're merciful to everyone. So every objection they might have, Krishna is very carefully covering that. And then Nanda Maharaj says, here, my dear child, my dear son, the rains come from Indra, and then the rain lands on the earth, and then that produces grains. We harvest the grains, then we feed the cows. It nourishes the cows. Then the cows produce milk. The gopis milk the cows. Then we get milk, butter, yogurt, curd, and we make sandesh and rasgullas, and this is how we go on in life. So these things that come from the rain, which comes from Indra, like the grains, so we're going to take grains and offer them to Indra. We're going to take many other things and offer them to Indra as a tribute, and to show some gratitude. So it's not just that people, when we hear in the modern idea that ignorant, primitive people, they're worshiping the sun or the wind or the water. Not in this case. Guru Maharaj uses it as an opportunity to talk about subjective evolution and saying the Vedic rishis see that behind everything is floating in consciousness. Consciousness means person. So when they address the wind or the rain, the water, they do it in a personal way. If they address the sun or the moon, in a personal way, because ultimately there's a person in the background. So hearing that, Krishna really all along, he has a plan to check the ego in a devotee. So this is good news for us, because we may find from time to time that our ego flares up, right? But the good news for devotees is Krishna will figure out a way to remove that ego. Gurudev gave a famous talk called Demolishing the Pillars of Ego. He used to like to quote this verse too, Ahankar Nivrittanam, saying, Krishna, who's our nearest and dearest, why can't we see him? Saying, because we're separated by a mountain of ego. So rest assured, if someone is devotee, then Krishna will come and put you in some circumstances where you're humbled, or you might say humiliated, and that ego is checked, and we're brought, and then there's a reality check. And for the Russian-speaking members of the audience, I mentioned that in one of his books, Dostoevsky says, humiliation is the most intense form of consciousness. So we know when you're humiliated, you have this mental clarity about what your situation is. So that is Krishna's plan. So he has to defeat the logic of Nanda Maharaj. So he actually starts speaking atheistic philosophy, right? So he starts saying, well, I really don't see how Indra has anything to do with it. Because if he's, you say, you do this puja, worship, and then he responds to what you've done, then it seems really it's the work you're doing or the puja that you're doing. Because if you don't do that, then his hands are tied. He can't respond. So really he's just instrumental along the way. The important thing is what you do. And so the Bhagavatam commentators point out he is promoting the Karmavad philosophy, which in modern context sort of goes like this. People say, I don't know if there is a God or if there isn't a God, but I know the difference between right and wrong. So I do what is right, and if there is a God, I'm doing the right thing. If there isn't a God, I'm doing the right thing, so I do the right thing. And that way God has been conveniently pushed out of the picture, and what comes front and center but work, karma. When Giriraj Swami and I were in Jamaica, and guest of these wealthy merchants in the country of Jamaica, and they gave us the son's room to stay in, and he was reluctant to get involved in the family business. And so in his room where we were staying, there's a picture of Krishna and Arjuna on the wall, like Bhagavad Gita. And you see Arjuna's like this, and Krishna's instructing. And I was wondering why that was there. And the father said, I'm trying to tell my son, Lord says, get a job. That's what he's telling Arjuna. Because he's saying like karma yoga, do your duty, but the way he said it, the Lord telling, get a job. And Arjuna's there with his hand in his hand. So Krishna starts telling them. So really, Indra has nothing to do with this. How much so? We see when it rains, it doesn't just rain in the place where you did the puja or where you're doing your dharmic activity. It rains on water. It rains on stone. It rains everywhere. So what has this got to do with it? He said, so the most important thing for us is the work that we do. And we are Vaishyas. And also, the cowherd men, they're listening and they think, this boy is really smart. He's really intelligent. He's winning them over gradually with this type of argumentation. He's young, but he's making some good points. So all these men, with their handlebar mustaches, they're sitting there listening, and then Krishna, and another thing, well, I've got your attention. So we're Vaishyas, and what does it say in Bhagavad Gita? Oh, I didn't speak that yet, but still, it's eternal. Krishigo Raksha Vanijam, Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. What's the swabhav, the nature, what natural activity for Vaishyas? Go Raksha, cow protection. The cows are everything for us. So it's not only this, how do you say, it's the work that we do. And what is that work? Protecting cows. So really, we should be worshiping the cows. And where are the cows most happy? With their fatty milk bags. And what is the place that's giving the cows the sweetest grasses? Is Govardhan. So really what we should be doing is it's nice that you've assembled all these ingredients. I couldn't be happier about it. But let's just shift it a little bit. And you see, there's Govardhan. And we will worship Govardhan. And afterwards, we'll make so many offerings, and the prasad will be given to Brahmins, we'll feed the cows, we'll circumambulate Govardhan. That's our program. And they're listening, and Nanda Maharaj said, so this sounds reasonable to me, and we should add to it. Not only is Krishna, his speaking enchanting and mesmerizing, but he's inconceivably beautiful. And as a child, we know how cute children, they can say something, even a nonsensical thing, but we're just charmed by it and want to do that. They suggest something and we go, oh, they're so cute, okay. Right? But on top of it all, so Krishna's speaking in an authoritative way, but he's also irresistibly cute. So they all agree. So now they've stopped the Indra Yagya and they're going to just worship Govardhan Hill. And they start doing that. And in the meantime, Indra's thinking, Indra means the king of heaven. Right? So he's thinking, it seems like it's the time for the annual puja and yagya. I'm not hearing anything. I'm not seeing, what's going on down there? And he sees, oh, they are having a big festival, but it's not the annual Indra celebration. Instead, he sees, and it's all because of this boy, these grown men who should know better. They're listening to this talkative child. And as Indra starts expressing his indignation, we're told everything he says against Krishna, Goddess Saraswati, like she's a transcendental inversion filter, it comes out as a glorification. So when he's saying Bhata, he's overly talkative, she's saying it means that his speech is full of sense and Vedic understanding. So everything that he says comes out in another way as a glorification. But Indra is so incensed by what's happening that we're told he has these samvartaka clouds, and they're actually meant for the end of the world. So these are not it's bad enough what we find, in the tsunami, typhoon and hurricanes. But these are not these are the clouds that are reserved for like the end of the world. So he's just going for it completely. He sends those clouds and he's throwing thunderbolts. And so it starts raining profusely, like columns of water coming down. And the cows, we're told, they're protecting their calves. That's their first instinct. But they're like nudging them. We're like, everyone, we got to meet over at Krishna's house. And it's cold and the wind is coming. They can't see anything. It's raining and they're shivering and they're cold. And then they approach Krishna. And with the cowherd men, everybody, they're saying, Krishna, it's by following you that we're in this trouble. Right? And Guru Maharaj chooses to make this point that when you pursue Krishna consciousness, sometimes by following what's Krishna's coming down to us through our Guru Varga, that we're at odds with the world. There's that saying, render to Caesar what is Caesar, render to God what is God's. Right? And people go, yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah. But in Krishna conception, what was for Caesar, you also give that to God. Right? So Caesar is Indra. Understand? What was meant for him, we take that and we give it to Gopal, we give it to Krishna. And doing that, pursuing Krishna consciousness, the karmic world comes as a reaction to obstruct this devotional flow. So what do the devotees do? They take shelter, Braja Sharanam, Sarvadharmam Parichaja, Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. What to speak of the rules of the world, but the Dharma itself. Krishna told Arjuna, give up, whatever your conception of Dharma is, give it up and just surrender to me. I breathe Dharma in my sleep. Don't talk to me about Dharma. And what am I telling you? Give it all up and just surrender to me. That's the ultimate consideration. Right? And Prabhupada once said, then Arjuna chants the supreme mantra. And we thought, oh, Maha Mantra? And he goes, no, Karishye Vachanam Tava. I'm now prepared to follow your instructions. Guru Maharaj the Gurudev, listen to your mind or to me? No, I'm now prepared to follow you and not my mind. Same thing, Nanda Maharaj, we're now prepared to follow you. So Krishna, seeing them, and we're told the anxiety that they're put in by his Leela Shakti potency of Yogamaya, it's all marvelously mystically planned out. So that's creating stress and anxiety in the hearts of the devotees. And what is the end result? Is it's producing a superior type of prem, which Krishna is addicted to. So now that they've been put in the, as Guru Maharaj says, what does the heart do when you put maximum pressure upon it? In the case of these devotees, it intensifies their love for Krishna and they're offering themselves to him and taking complete shelter of him. They don't seek another shelter. Right? So seeing that touches the heart of Krishna. So he decides to come out, and Krishna's wearing a very beautiful turban and dressed very nicely, and he starts running towards Govardhan Hill. And so again, Yogamaya. So Sun Hariki Shakti, Leela Shakti intensified. All right, Sun Hariki Shakti. Another one comes in, and we're told, creates a, what would you call it? Like a bubble, where not even a drop of water goes on Krishna's turban or any of his clothes. Right? So it's raining literally like the end of the world, and not a drop of water goes on Krishna. His hair is not wet. His turban isn't soaked, neither are his clothes. A perfect path, like that, like a beautiful arch, Yogamayic arch. And Krishna, with his left hand, he picks up the Govardhan Hill, which we're told at the time was not so big. And then Govardhan starts expanding to 50 kilometers wide. It's mentioned in Garga Samhita and elsewhere, Govardhan can be as big as it chooses to be. Can be smaller, larger, can take different forms, can take the form of animals, the form of a serpent, it can do anything it wants. It's Krishna himself. So Krishna lifts the Govardhan like an umbrella. And there's a very beautiful verse that summarizes everything. It says, Deve Varshati Yagya Viplava Rusha Brajrashra Barshanilai Siddhat Pala Pashu Striyatma Sharanam Drishvanukam Utsmayam, out of compassion for them. Utpatyeka Karena Shailam Avalo Lilos Chilindram Jata says the way a child plucks a mushroom with with his left hand, Krishna lifts the Govardhan hill and it creates an umbrella. And he says, everyone, come on. And then all the cows and calves are running, all the bridge basis, and Krishna's holding it like an umbrella. Liloch Chilindram Jatam. Then there's a Mahendra Madhibit, Liloch Chilindram. I'll think of them last time. Mahendra Madhibit, Priyana Indro Gavan. So Krishna's holding this and everyone comes under. And of course the Braja Gopis, they're impressed. Remember, their hearts are being stirred like and it's going to explode with love and affection in a few chapters. But this is a major event in the pastimes. And Krishna, and we're told the cowherd men, Paramananda Prabhu was saying earlier, being astonished by their simple-hearted nature and everything, they're thinking, maybe he can't hold it himself. Well, if he could lift it like that, probably he can continue to hold it. But they're thinking, so they pick up their sticks and they're like, on this, you go to the left, all right, I'll go over here. So they're like supporting, and Krishna's there, and we're told sometimes out of the corner of his eyes, he sees the beauty of Radharani and Brajagopi's hand a little bit trembling, and they're, whoa, There's always some drama. Yashoda, his simple-hearted mother, and Rohini, they're thinking she's thinking, he's just a boy. How long can he hold it? Well, then how could he hold it to begin with? So how long does he hold Govardhan Hill as an umbrella for everyone? 7 days, right? But we're told, so as one day goes by, another day goes by, Rohini and Yashoda, they're coming with butter and pushing it into his mouth to give him strength. So then at the end of 7 days, finally, he has this change of heart and realizes, we're told some of the other animals, not count, but other, they were on top. Nothing happens to them either. They're also sheltered, even though they're on top of the Govardhan umbrella. So Indra is thinking what have I done? This is no ordinary boy. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then Krishna, so Indra stops all the rain, no more thunder, no more lightning. And by the way, when the thunder and lightning and the rain was coming, Govardhan had already Krishnized everything, so that we're told, Govardhan interpreted the thunderbolts and stuff like flower offerings coming from Indra. Right? Similar to when Bhishma was shooting the arrows and they were like flower offerings. So, we should have mentioned that before this, when they were worshiping Govardhan, that when they made all their offerings, that suddenly short arms came out, infinitely long arms, and each arm would pick up an offering and offer it into the mouth of Govardhan, and everyone began to see, here, Krishna is Govardhan. Krishna is revealing, he's Govardhan, and with thousands of arms of various sizes, he's taking everything everyone's eating, right? And Guru Maharaj will mention to us the verse of the Braja Gopis, when they say, Hantaya Madra Labala Haridasa Bharja, Yad Rama Krishna Charanas Parasha Pramoda, Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayas Tayoryat, Pani Asuya Vasakanda Rakanda Mule. Why do we so much love Govardhan? Because he's in ecstasy at the touch of the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. They take their cows there for herding. Govardhan produces sweet waters, paniya, like ha paniya, for nourishing the grass and the cows, and there are caves for secret pastimes. So that Govardhan, then Krishna puts it back in place with his left hand, tells everyone, it's okay now, there's no more rain and thunder, and so everyone goes on happily with their parikrama. And then we're told he doesn't want to humiliate Indra anymore. So in a private place at the foot of Govardhan, Indra appears with Surabhi, the divine cow, and his elephant Airavata. And he's thinking like, yeah, it's in the, in the first verse of the Bhagavatam, Muhyanti Yatsuraya, that even the devas will be bewildered in trying to comprehend your divine pastimes and your human-like pastimes. Forgive me, my Lord, for my offense. And Krishna is very happy to see that Indra has come in this remorseful mood. And Indra says, I may be the Indra, the king of heaven, but Priyana Indra Gavan, but you are Indra Gava, the king of the cows. Right? The Indra of the Indra Gava. Gava means cows. You're the Indra of the cows. But actually, that person who is the Indra of the cows is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Deva Deva, the God of gods. And if you reverse Indra Gava, it turns into Gava Indra, Govinda. So he's saying, oh, you are Govinda. That is who you are. So although he's eternally Govinda, this is the pastime where by that name Govinda, the Lord of the cows, the one who fulfills the desire, the Lord of the senses, who is the personification, the epitome of all different types of sense pleasure, infinite eye beauty, ear beauty, touch beauty, taste beauty. So he coronates him as Govinda. And then we're told Surabhi, she offers him prayers and then bathes him in milk. Then Airavata, Indra's elephant, summons the Ganga into his trunk, like they do in Thailand. The elephants and Songkran, right? They suck up the water in their trunks. And so after Surabhi bathes Govinda, Krishna, in milk, then Airavata in water, and then a little lake, Kunda, is formed, which becomes known as Govinda Kunda. Hare Krishna. And so we couldn't think of any more better day than to inaugurate Sri Govinda Kunda here, as we can, within the vision of Giri, where he is sitting right now. It was planned that way. Avadhut Maharaj and Paramananda Prabhu consulted the Vastu Shastra and determined that this was the auspicious place, and it's also within the divine vision of Giriraj Govardhan. And so we like to inaugurate Sri Govinda Kunda today with Abhishek of our Giriraj Govardhan. We have two. One we affectionately call Chinese Giriraj, because he's been to Shenzhen and Shanghai. And the other Govardhan, who's been with us here in Sri Gupta Govardhan, and since our days in World Club land. And it's interesting, we have two devotees that deserve some special credit for this, which is Gaur Nataraj Prabhu, sort of conceived the technical aspects of the project, and Kalachan Prabhu, who, as you saw, he was out there day after day, head to toe, covered in mud, reminiscent of the time when at Govinda Kunda and Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Navadvip, it was a desire of Guru Maharaj that Gaur and Nitai would have water pastimes there, that Jal Krida, water sports. And it was something Gurudev, he, as we say, he fulfilled all the desires of his Guru Maharaj, but this was one that was remaining to be done. So Srila Acharya Maharaj, he's always looking for more seva. Some people are trying to escape. He's looking for more. Where's the service opportunity? And he understood that this was a desire of Srila Guru Maharaj and Srila Gurudev. So he thought, I will do it. So he assembles everyone out. They have to drain Govinda Kunda of all the water and then put the piles for the foundation. And they're unable to do it. They can't get it, the last part. And Gaurnataraj Prabhu's father, Jagadananda Prabhu, he was out there. And one of his previous occupations was he worked on oil derricks, where they're extracting oil from. So the guys who grab those big tubes like this, they're called roughnecks. They're tough. They're tough people. Right? So Jagadananda Prabhu's out there, they're trying, and he's covered head to toe in mud, seems to be the tradition, and they couldn't do it, right? Day after day. And then Srila Gurudev, in his melted heart, got some inspiration, and he's thinking about the pastimes of the Devas and the Asuras churning the milk ocean. Like you see at the Suvarnabhumi International Airport in Bangkok, when you cross customs, there have a diorama of that event. But you see the Kurma and Vishnu in the center, and one side Devas, gods, the other side Asuras, the demons, and with the divine serpent Vasuki wrapped around the Mandura hill, and which is resting on the back, the itching back of the Kurma avatar. So as they do, it's relieving his itching, and he's going, ah. And that outward going breath is the Vedas. That's why I said earlier when he says, I breathe Vedas, I breathe Dharma. Right? So he goes, ah, some relief, and that's coming out. And while they're churning, interestingly, the moon comes out, Chandra Bangsha of Krishna, Lakshmi Devi, and Airavata, the elephant of Indra, Uchayasrava, the horse, but that elephant of Indra was there as well. So that brings us full circle to here. So Gurudev said, thinking about that, there's this famous verse that comes at the conclusion of the Bhagavatam in the 12th canto, what is it, like 13th chapter, whatever the last chapter is. Prishte Brahmyara Manda Mandara Giri Gravagya Kanduyanan Nidralo Kamatakrite, etc. It's saying, so that churning, and interesting, we have the word gravel, here it is gravagya. So it's saying when the ocean, since that time, when the ocean, it's like the breathing of the Kurma avatar, it goes out. That we know when you're on the shore of the ocean, it's practically a mystical, hypnotic sound. Right? We all love to go there, and it's very relaxing and hypnotic. And the Bhagavatam verse is saying that is mirroring the breathing of the Kurma avatar. And these divine waves of these nectarine pastimes are going on eternally since then. Right? So Gurudev, he's thinking, we have this one Lakshmi Varaha Shila at the Chaitanya Saraswati Mat on the altar. And he said to the Pujari, you offer some paramanna, sweet rice, to that deity, and chant this mantra, the Prishte Brahmyara Manda Mandana Giri. See, like Giri, Govardhan, Giri. And then we may be successful. Right? They did that, and then the next attempt, they go out there, and they're able to plant the piles, establish the foundation, and then build the Jal Mandir. So then Gurudev wrote an arati, taking from Garga Sangita and elsewhere. And one of the lines to celebrate this, Govinda Kunda, and one of the lines in the poem says, that fortunate souls, when they bathe in the divine waters of Govinda Kunda, they will taste the water as milk, that divine milk that came from Surabhi to bathe Govinda Krishna, Krishna Govinda. So we want to now go down to Govinda Kunda, first have a little kirtan, circumambulate here, and then bring the deities to a platform there. Then say a little something about that. Avadhut Maharaj, myself, we're going to offer some milk, pour over the deities for that aspect. That'll be relatively a small amount, but then in larger amounts, everyone will be able to offer some water, pour water over the deities, and we will inaugurate Sri Govinda Kunda. Jai Sri Govardhan Puja ki Jai, Sri Giriraj Govardhan ki Jai, Sri Govinda Kunda ki Jai, Nitai Go Premanande.